Good evening, everybody. We are getting ready to start this wonderful, wonderful show with my co-hosts, Sharon Rogers.
Hello, everyone.
And Dr. Bill Brink has made his return.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you, Bill?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Sharon?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Nice. I'm doing fine as well.
How are you doing?
Fantastic.
How are you doing tonight, Josh?
Fantastic. Wow. I was doing okay.
Give us a chance.
Yeah. Really? I felt like there was plenty of an awkward pause there to get things started off this evening.
It can be more
Sorry.
awkward.
So for those of you that don't...
It could be more awkward. Let's see.
What? Oh, yeah. That's what they want. They want an hour of me just filling the space, awkward void with
awkward time.
Very little information. But you all know Sharon. For those of you maybe that don't know Bill Brink, Bill is on our finance and oversight team, which doesn't make him any more important than anybody else, but it's just a fact of the existence of our church, and also chiropractor here in town. And so that's why we call you Dr. Bill Brink. It's not for any other reason.
That's right.
That you have earned that right.
I've got a paper that says I am.
You are.
By the state of Maine.
You are.
Yeah.
And I can personally actually vouch for, and Sharon, I think you can vouch for the good work of Dr. Brink as well. So
Yes.
like I feel like I'm supposed to try harder to sit straight like when Bill's around. So
It's sort of funny because if Dan and I have done talks and we would go to like we have been able to speak at the town workers. Every year they have a
for Stanford.
Yeah, for
Okay,
Stanford.
yeah.
So they have a health thing they have to go through. They have to talk to health stuff. They talk about some hazardous material. They talk about sexual harassment. They talk about whatever they talk about. And so when we walk into the room, these guys are always like this. And as soon as we walk in, they say, "Hey, this is Dr. Bill Brink." Everybody kind of gets a little straighter. You know, it's like, "Oh, there we go." That's
Meanwhile, Bill is thinking, "No, go ahead.
that's
Sit that
okay.
other way.
Slouch away, man.
Plenty of job security there.
That's right.
Yeah. So what's new and exciting in the world of chiropractic medicine?
Nothing much new.
No?
No.
Really? I thought you were like on the cutting edge.
We are cutting it. Well, we've got some new equipment in the office. It's called Impulse Instrument, and it moves vertebrae very gently with a little repeated impulse. And I had one before. I upgraded one of my instruments, so I'm working with that, and that's kind of neat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a new table because we're looking to expand a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was...
So now you can make another person wait for a really long time before you show up in the room?
And torture them once they come in, yes. It's all part of the deal. Yeah, so looking to expand a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
It's been good.
And I understand your wife, Becky, has recently decided to run for town office, right?
City Council.
City Council.
Yes.
That's
Yes. So
exciting.
vote Brink on
Hey,
November.
whoa.
sorry.
Yeah, we're not endorsing any candidates here.
It's just the
We're
fact
just
that she's
making
running.
mention that, yes,
Okay.
one of our own.
One of our
Becky
own,
Brink
yes,
is.
yes.
So that's exciting. Has that meant any more work for you or anything?
No, not at this
You
stage.
just said stay out of
stuffing envelopes,
That's right. Yeah.
putting signs
Putting
out.
signs up, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of funny. She's been involved with the city for a long time. She was in the school committee a long time ago, town meeting member, and on the school committee, I said that, worked in the schools. So she's been involved with a lot of different things. And and I'm not exactly sure why, just decided to run. And yeah.
It's gonna clean up house.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get it going.
I mean, I just got my property tax bill, and it went up 5% over last year, which was already outrageous. So
Yeah. Well, thank you, because that'll support her and her.
whoever gets elected, please fix my property taxes.
So
They probably don't have anything to do with that. But.
well, one of the things you try to do is the city council can sometimes influence business coming into town, and more business comes in, more revenues got from the business rather than homeowners. So that's something she's acutely aware of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's kind of like Wells. Sharon lives in Wells.
Taxes are great.
They benefit from all kinds of businesses.
Tourists
over there.
and
We just need some more
businesses.
ocean over here in Stanford. If we had a little more coastline, I feel like
I think that would help.
The market would be booming around here. So.
Hey, it's the most wonderful time of the year right now. You can get back on Route 1.
Oh, right. Yes.
It's after Labor Day.
Yeah.
It's not
Tourists
I figured it'd still be kind of busy through September, but
It is on the
the
weekends.
weekends, yeah.
Not so much
People
during
do
the
have to
week.
go to work. So.
Just we Becky and I supported Forbes the other day. Went down and had some lunch at Forbes. That was their last regular day, I think. So
So this person running for city council is taking her money and moving it out of Sanford. this person that's supposed to be bringing in more and supporting local
wait a minute, that
businesses.
doesn't sound right.
Huh. All right. Like I said, we are neither endorsing nor whatever the opposite of endorsing is.
Unendorsing.
Any candidates here on Curtis Lake PrimeTime. But we have another member of our church family, Melissa Alapalo. She's also running. She is running for water board
Trustee.
trustee. Okay,
Yes.
not waterboarding.
Well, no, I think she's
Because
opposed.
that we would be against.
Yes.
Yes,
We would definitely take a
against that?
stand.
Yes, we would.
Yeah.
Yes, stand against that.
Right.
Yes.
But okay, so water board trustee.
Yeah.
Because interestingly, not that I want this to be all about my complaints, but I do have problems with my water from time to time too.
Really?
Yeah. So I have to call. I have to call over to the water department and say, "Hey, my water's disgusting."
Really?
And the response I get is very interesting. It's not like, they don't ask me 17 questions to try to get to the bottom of it. I get more of a, yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll get that fixed. Like they knew, I was not the first person to call. And
Who's calling next?
yeah, they're waiting for there to be enough people complaining about the rust or iron or whatever it is that's
Yeah.
making my water dirty. And
Yeah.
yeah. So you don't have to worry about that because you get water from fresh spring lake of Curtis.
Curtis
Yeah.
Lake
Pond.
first.
We just have a pipe out there that comes right into the house. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Completely unfiltered.
Yeah, just right
Right.
from Curtis Lake.
Which direction's that pipe? The stuff in the pipe flow?
Yeah, not that pipe.
Sharon.
Anyway,
Just checking.
No.
okay. So nothing new in the world of chiropractic medicine other than a brand new upgraded device. So that's good. I would look forward to maybe
Yeah.
experiencing that next time
Yeah.
I'm in.
Me
So,
too. Is
which
that going to be in one of your rooms or one of Dan's
Oh, it's
rooms?
just in mine only. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
oh, really? Dan doesn't get to use that?
No.
Oh.
Well, unless he puts his patient in my room, which is
Gotcha.
yeah.
Oh, it's like that kind
We-
of thing. You don't move that thing around.
Well, it's small, but you gotta unplug it and plug it in. It's just kind of a nuisance to move.
Right.
But so I have one, but so
Will it mean that I don't have to get as undressed as you always make me get whenever I go to your office?
Josh,
Oh, man.
Josh, we both have to get undressed. You know that. Come on, that's tradition.
If I had a flag, I'd throw it. And we need a substitute. Shada?
That's where's the dump button? So speaking of throwing the flag, Bill, you wanted to talk about football tonight.
Well, I'm concerned about Cam Newton's future. So, Sharon, what do you have to think about that?
I think it's probably the right move.
We can get better in all three aspects of the game: offense, defense, coaching,
It's offense, defense, special
teams. I haven't watched enough.
I'm looking forward to the first regular season game.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'll have to, of course, watch mine taped because I will be at worship night because we're having a worship night here.
That's right. Worship night this Sunday at 6:00. For those of you who don't like watching football and would rather come to church and worship Jesus, that is an option for you this Sunday night. So, was that a good commercial?
Well, when you put it
I feel
that-
like
when you
I
put it
feel like
that
I didn't
way,
do
I-
that read correctly. This is why I'm usually preaching and not hosting. 'Cause I got the announcements all messed up. So.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So worship night this Sunday. So that's cool. I feel like there was something else going on. I know we got Trunk or Treat coming up down the road, but
Time to buy some candy.
yeah, just had baptism at the lake. That was a great Sunday.
It was beautiful. It was a perfect night.
Yeah.
Just really special watching people take that next step. And it was, a really nice, supportive crowd and good food. And it was a really
was
really
nice.
nice event.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd agree. Very nice.
it was good. Good way to kind of close out the summer, which I'm a little bummed out about. The cold nights are a reminder that it's almost over.
Yeah, but the leaves will be turning.
The leaves will be turning, and there's something about the routine. I mean, it is amazing. Like summer is just it is a different season up here.
Yeah.
You know, you really. I mean, I kind of fly by the seat of my pants anyway, so it's largely the same for me all year. But in summer, there's a little more, it's just a little more chaos. I feel like to the kind of running around.
Well, you feel like you have to make the most of the really good days,
do,
and then you
yeah.
got to find something to do on the bad days, and
Yeah.
But you're right; it's such a short season that you have to be willing to abandon whatever plans you have in case you've got that perfect day for golf or the beach or whatever.
One thing that always happens to me at this time of year is that I feel like I've got to go back to school again. I always get that little pit in my stomach saying, I forgot my homework. You know, it's like, I forgot the sneakers for my gym class, and I'm going to go to school. I have to call my mother to come down and bring my sneakers to gym class or something. But it's been a long time since I've been in school. I still get that little feeling right there.
I taught school for 25 years, and I kind of miss the going back to school part of it.
Yeah.
And when I was teaching, it was, the first couple days was just so anxiety ridden because I had to know people's names, and I just felt like if I don't remember their name, it's like you lose a little bit of something. Names are important, and so. But once I got beyond that, it was fun. It's always fun to go back to school shopping, and now I don't have an excuse for that. I can't even take my kids back to school shopping because they're not in school.
Right.
Yeah. So we were going to try, and we still will. I mean, we'll persevere through this until it starts to get a little better. But we did put out to everybody that we wanted to give people an opportunity to ask a question for the panel here. We're going to call it Question of the Week. We got two very lame questions. Well, one was a lame question. One wasn't really a question this past Sunday. So we'll keep doing that. But if anybody has any questions for Bill, feel free to type those out in the chat. I suppose if you have a question for anybody else, you could do that too. But so anyway, Question of the Week. That'll be fun. I mean, we're really letting people ask anything they want.
Yeah, that's great.
So, the question that came from Sydney Butler was, what's your favorite color? Like, this is one of our high-end creatives around here. And that's what she came up with. So
Was that the lame question, or do you have another one?
that was pretty lame. Right. Yeah. No, the other question was just, I think it was somebody who was kind of curious about just the potential for a ministry. So that wasn't lame.
Oh.
There was no real question associated with it other than something about, whether or not in the future there might be a ministry for people going through cancer. Oh. So it's actually, framed as a question. It's a pretty good question. I'd like to think so. We used to have a ministry called Cancer Care. And I think that as we continue to just kind of evolve and reestablish, some of these ministries that are specifically working to help provide care for people going through certain seasons of life or whatever, like Grief Share, just, that's getting ready to start up. And, Cancer Care, or, maybe one of these ministries that's really helping people that are going through either terminal or near terminal kind of disease.
Very serious.
Yeah, just very, very serious stuff. So it'll be good. It'll be good. But anyway, so yeah, question of the week. And yeah. Jeff Farrell says, what do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back?
A stick.
A stick.
That's probably right. Yeah. Nice. All right. Good try.
Are we right, Jeff?
Good try, Jeff.
You'll have to let us know.
So.
And I don't think Sydney's very happy about you calling her question lame, or she's looking for the answer.
Oh, it's blue. Like anybody cares. Which is why probably most of the time I'm wearing blue. I mean, tonight I'm not, but yeah, most of the time I am. So, all right. So we finished up this week the series Road Trip to Truth. So we're not really going to spend too much time talking about that. But they kind of wrapped up just talking about Easter, which feels a little out of season. But, so if you if you haven't watched that yet, and you've kind of been going along with the series, that is the final week, and I think just highlights the importance of Easter and share some of the I think the one thing that I really kind of drew out of there that, is interesting to me as you think about it is all along the way, a big part of this series was to try to show how reasonable the Christian faith is, right? So apologetics or defending the faith, whatever you want to call it, it's largely about trying to provide reasonable arguments or defenses for the claims of Christianity. And so what I was thinking about as I was watching it is that if you think about it, Christianity just makes the most outrageous claims, right? Like it's outrageous.
Yeah.
Given just in and of itself, without anything that kind of backs it up. I mean, it is out there, right? The claims regarding the authority of Scripture, and then the absolute arch pinnacle claim of Jesus dying and rising bodily from the dead after being dead for 3 days. It's crazy, right? Like that's not
natural.
It's not natural.
Not normal.
It's not something that you just, you write down and say, I hope people believe this. It's absolutely crazy. And yet with even that high level of craziness with the claims of Christianity, there's such a, I think, proportionately high degree of reasonableness. Like if you really take time to think through, even investigate a lot of what this stuff is talking about, it's like, you know what? I can believe that. Like I can believe that 2,000 years ago, a man was crucified on a cross, condemned to die, and that just as was predicted, he rose from the dead and changed the world. Like I can believe that because there's a lot behind it, and I thought that was kind of fascinating, and for me a good way to just wrap up the whole thing. So it's more than just Easter eggs on Easter Sunday.
The validity of and background of manuscripts and information from non-Christian believing people is just overwhelming too. I mean, I think sometimes we get kind of lulled into that because we sort of hear it all the time, see it all the time. You kind of forget how much weight there is behind the evidence of Jesus' life and his dying and the resurrection. I think that even that there's lots of manuscripts and non-believers that said something weird happened to this guy. We can't figure out what happened to him.
Right.
So, and but I think that when you hear it over and over and over, it's just like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, we lose our fascination
I know.
in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and something that, it's all about me. I see this in the office sometimes. People come in with some problem, we help them out, and they say, "Oh, I'm so thankful." I go, "I know," because we see that,
Right.
So it's not spectacular, but I think that we get the same sort of sense in the Bible Christian stuff too, right? Just like we hear it so much, we see it so much. Hey, everybody get excited! Jesus rose from the dead. You said it last week. I heard it before.
Yeah.
It's just like, but he did, So
That's part of the trouble is that we do get a little bit, just comfortable, a little too comfortable with the truth of it all. It has stood the test of time. It's one of those stories, of course, that is you can't make this stuff up kind of stuff. There are plenty of people that want to say that we can, I guess, but it has stood the test of time, and it just. But you're right. We get comfortable with it, and we I think sometimes just don't give it the proper respect and reverence that we need to.
Yeah.
Just because we're in it. But it's a good reminder to really stop and think.
Yeah, it's
what it
supposed
really
to
means.
radically change your life.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what ultimately what saving faith is all about, is that hey, this isn't just some fairy tale that I choose to believe in because it makes me feel better about my own circumstances. And, hey, by the way, I kind of like the people that also believe this.
Right.
You know, they're cool to hang out with. It's the essence of life.
Yeah.
Right. The power of the resurrection. So, yeah.
I read a great book several years ago now, and I think I've talked about this before. It was written by a former Muslim. Do you know this guy? It was called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. And this guy was brought up in a great Muslim family and loving Muslim family, and he encountered a Christian guy that they eventually started. They were friends. And they started kind of walking together and living together and you know, sharing life together and stuff. And after a while, the Muslim guy said, "Hey, why do you believe that? That's ridiculous." And the Christian guy said, "Well, because of this. Why do you believe that?" And so he started to have the apologetic argument back and forth. And after a while, the Muslim guys just said, "I don't have the basis in the Quran that you do in the Bible. I just don't have it." And of course, it took him like 6 years before he finally kind of slowly transitioned and changed and said, "Yeah, there's something to this," you know. And he ended up becoming a Christian, much to the dismay of his family, of course, you know. But it's something he just said, "I had to do this. There was no choice. I had to understand and believe." Is kind of a funny word, but like I had to accept the facts of who Jesus was and the Bible, what it says. And he said, "I just had to accept it after a while, to be honest."
And that's a quest, huh? 6 years.
Yeah. That's a friend too, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, to stick with it for that long. And yeah. Great book. And he talks some about those things though. Here's why I think the Bible is right, and just did some apologetic work in his book talking about that. It was really good.
It's great. So, all right. Well, that concludes that. We'll figure out what we're going to do next, if anything. But let's talk about Proverbs. We closed that out this week, so it's kind of a big deal. We've been doing that for a while. Not to put you on the spot, but I'll put you on the spot.
Great.
Did you get anything? I mean, we've been doing this for 3 months now. Did you get anything just remarkable, anything life-changing out of the book of Proverbs as we've been going through that before we get into the Sunday? You can say no,
Sharon?
but
Well, I think, thanks.
Bill differs.
I think that the thing that always gets me is that no matter how many times you go through Proverbs, like there's still more to learn, or there's still stuff to be reminded of, and like, oh yeah, like I have not truly gained that piece of wisdom yet because my life speaks otherwise. It's just always good reminders. I mean, it's just things that you know that you might take for granted, or you might not. Let's talk about the whole rebuke part. It's we were talking about this earlier. I always used to tell Doug when he was leading, like, if I am off key, I want to know, because I don't want to be that person that somebody's going, oh, somebody needs to tell her. Like, I want somebody to tell me, like, tell me. Shayna's in the other room. She was like, okay, I need to speak to Sharon afterwards. But
I can hear her typing an email right now.
After the show.
But it's hard in the moment. It's like, when you've got a piece of toilet paper on your shoe or something, like it's a little bit embarrassing. But if you think about it, it's a lot more embarrassing to be walking through Walmart with a piece of toilet paper sticking off your shoe, or, singing for 30 minutes in church where everybody is hearing how bad you are. It's just, we have to embrace being a little bit uncomfortable with the truth if we really want to grow. And that's hard. I mean, it is hard, but we make it something so much bigger than it really is. Somebody can say something to you and they're saying it for all the right reasons and in the right way. And we think it's going to ruin our world. Or even if we're the one doing the rebuking, we think we're going to ruin somebody else's world. And, they're over it in 2 seconds. Like it's no big deal. You move on. There's always something else coming. Same thing with the news. You watch the news and there's a big headline today. A week from now, everybody's forgotten it. So I think it's better to hear that truth so that you can address it and move forward, and not stay stuck where you are.
Thank you, Sharon.
This is an awkward night tonight, man.
Too funny.
Bill, how about you?
No, nothing impactful.
Okay, good.
Anybody else?
Yeah. I think and I talked about it in week 1. I talked about it a little this past week. It's what I just find really interesting when it comes to wisdom is how we so often live as an antagonist toward wisdom, right? The whole series of literature seems to kind of hinge on this idea that there is, there's this way and there's this way. And this way feels better. It's what we want, right? A lot of times we're making this comparison between what we want and what is better. Why is that? Why do we seem so inclined to choose the way of folly, almost as if it was the more natural course for us, to choose the foolish thing or to choose the foolish direction? Even is it that we don't believe in the consequences of what will come? Like, do we not believe in the chaos and the destruction that it's ultimately going to mean in our lives if we continue to persist in that way? Is it that we don't care? You know what I mean? Like, this is what I want and I don't really care what the repercussions are. It's just really interesting, but I feel like we all do it. It's absolutely a universal human tendency, I think. Right. And we don't do it all the time. I mean, there's areas of our lives where we choose very wisely, right? So some people choose really wisely when it comes to how they manage their money. But then when it comes to relationships, it's like, what are you doing? Right? I mean, you made this mistake with him or her 3 months ago, and now you're doing the exact same thing all over again. Right. And it seems like, the person that falls into those pitfalls, they struggle in that area with that particular pitfall, and vice versa. A person could do really, really well in relationships, and they make plenty of money at work. Like, that's not really the problem. And yet it seems as if they could just never figure it out. They can never get their money straightened out. So all these different areas of our lives, I mean, we have these areas, I think, where we operate very foolishly. Why?
Yeah. I often use Matthew as an example of things. So he has these things that he struggles with, and there's a bit of an obsessive compulsiveness to him. And he has figured out, well, he's had to over and over figure it out for different reasons, that he needs to separate himself. Like, if he cannot control some of these obsessions or, compulsive things that he does, that, okay, I'm just not ever, I'm never going to the beach again, or I'm not going to play that game again, because he gets angry or he's, whatever. So it's just, but it takes him a while, but then he finally, it's like he gives in, like, all right, I guess the wise thing to do is to remove myself from the situation. But it's hard for us to want to remove ourselves from something that gives us pleasure or, we're craving for. And I think that's the problem, is we don't want to give in. There's a part of us that doesn't want to quit, even when quitting would be the best for us. And I don't, if, is it a pride thing? Probably it's a pride thing. Maybe I'll figure it out the next time. I don't know. But sometimes, the wisest thing to do is, know when you got to quit, know when you can't, know your weakness and know what you can't beat. You can't do it on your own. Throw in the flag.
Yeah, the picture that's sometimes painted in the book of Proverbs gives that indication that a person they're walking a path, right? And there's just destruction ahead, and they
Keep walking it.
off
Yeah.
they do. They
Yeah.
just keep on going, and to their ultimately to their own demise if they don't wise up and turn around, right? That's the beauty of wisdom, is that you can choose it if you want to, but it is sometimes, especially in those areas where we struggle, it's just hard. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. Like it's work, right?
Like everybody in the world can see this person and think, what is he or she doing? Like they should know better. I mean, we ignore it in our own lives because there are other areas in our own lives, but we can see it all day in everybody else's. But it's just,
Right.
We each have one of those, at least one of those areas,
right.
that, we're just blind to.
Yeah. Bill, where do you struggle with wisdom? And you can either answer for yourself or for Becky.
Okay, where she struggles, that's so much easier for me to address.
She struggles with dealing with Bill.
That's a big struggle. Where do I struggle with wisdom? I'm not sure how to answer that. I'm not sure where to go with that one.
It's certainly not with pride or arrogance, obviously.
No, it's not. It's not it. But I think that's probably everybody's problem is pride, arrogance. And that seems like that's a root of a lot of what we have to deal with, and some of that is self-reflection. So I was thinking that as you talk to, if everybody seems to know that you're going the wrong direction in a relationship, but you don't see it, that's not self-reflecting. And I think that we are called to do some of that self-reflection too. And then it's pride to say, "No, I'm good. I'm going fine," even though you can. So I think it's pride to let you down there too.
Yeah. Do you think you're more prone to like a rebellious spirit, or lack of self-reflection? Because those could be two of the possible causes, right? There's what you just described. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, and I can see this, but I don't care, right? That's rebellion. And then there's, I think I'm just
Sort of oblivious to things.
yeah,
maybe,
I guess so. Like intentionally oblivious a lot of times.
Right.
Because we have to check our brains at the door in some of these areas of our lives and not deal with the facts of the matter. Like a lot of people who are doing things foolishly in their lives, they do. It's not that they don't necessarily know it, right? If I'm spending more money than I'm making, like I do know that the math doesn't work out. I do know that. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to curb my behavior, right? Because for some people it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The problems of being in debt, that's a tomorrow problem. That's a next year problem. That's not a today problem. Today problem is I want that. So I'm just gonna go get it, and I'll deal with
The credit card
yeah. I'll deal with that. Right. Exactly.
later.
Yeah. I'm spending money I don't have, and I think we would all understand that there's a level of foolishness with that. Like that's not the ideal way to do it. Some people would say, well, it's not really foolish. For me, it's just necessary. Like that's the only way I can survive. But yeah, and then I think that there's that spirit of rebellion too that oftentimes is I get it, but I don't care.
Tough luck doing it anyway.
It's rebellion, and also coupled with not understanding that consequences do come. And for many people, they don't feel the consequences for a long time, or they've been spared from true consequence from foolish decisions, whether it's, financial management. They've gotten by, they've always, just somehow managed to pull it together in time, and they just feel that will always keep happening. And they're not learning from the messes they're getting themselves into. And so eventually, that really down the road, you could take that far enough, it really does come back to haunt them. Mm-hmm. It might be at retirement age when there's nothing else that they can do about it then. Or I don't know. You see this with kids. If they don't have their consequences early enough, they get into trouble later because they haven't learned it in the small things. And so when it comes to the big things, then they're really in trouble. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately, it doesn't just happen to kids. I mean, kids grow up. That's where, no matter what area of our lives we're talking about, whether it's relationships or finances, we all have those kind of things where, we just haven't learned our lessons yet because the lessons haven't been painful enough, maybe.
Right. Yeah. So one of the Proverbs we looked at this Sunday is Proverbs 16:19. It says, "It is better to be of a lowly spirit with the poor than to divide the spoil with the proud." So we talked about pride. That was part of the theme of that whole verse, that it's more preferable to be counted and regarded with the poor than it is to have reached kind of the mountaintop of success. This place where you're now just kind of dividing the spoils of all the success that you've experienced. And we talked about this a little before we started tonight, but to me, what comes out of that is just this understanding that we're all seeking success in various areas of our lives. We seek success professionally. We seek success academically, financially. Maybe there's a hobby that we like to excel in. There's a profession that we want to be the best at. We obviously want to be successful with our families, right? So we're looking for success, and many of us have experienced it, right? Bill, I mean, would you regard yourself as a successful guy?
I'd say so, yeah.
You done all right.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I know you have an in-ground pool that I wasn't invited to at all this year.
I wasn't either.
You weren't either? Okay. So that's the two of us.
The Talbots came over.
Okay.
That makes us feel better.
I don't know what to do with that, but so anyway, I didn't get invited to Bill's wonderful in-ground pool, but I
have to go.
You have to head out. All of a sudden, Becky's calling. So, but yeah, so you've done well for yourself. I know your family. Good kids, right? Who they themselves. How many doctors you got in the family? And 2, right? And a master's.
Yeah, right. So they've done well.
Kids have done really well for themselves. There's a lot to be proud of, right? You can look back at these last however many years it's been, and I think that's great. And I think it's wonderful to enjoy that and to celebrate that, and to be thankful. Hopefully, right? Hopefully, there's a measure of just thankfulness to God for the blessing that is all that He's done in your life. I think the problem is sometimes our success it just naturally, again, like if we're not careful, it inflates our understanding and perspective of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, that wonderful quality of being poor in spirit. Remember, Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. Happy are those who are poor in spirit. Happy are those who have the proper regard for God and themselves, that understand the nature of that relationship, that don't flip-flop, right? That priority of me and God. Like I get the order. There's
right.
one and there's two,
right?
Right? And I know which one is one. I know which one is two. as we're successful, a lot of times that does get turned upside down, and God is forgotten. Because God is, for a lot of people, in positions of success and relative happiness, maybe there's not as much of a need for God.
And I've seen that sometimes in my profession, other professions, that there are doctors who are in charge of their office or the surgical room or their hospital or whatever it is, and they're in charge of everything, and what they say goes. And it's very, very, I think it's difficult at that level to say, and that would apply to like a CEO of a company or any other high level person like that. I mean, the minister of a big church would be the same situation, to say what I say goes, and it'd be hard not to be somewhat prideful in those situations, just because you're in charge of like people's, what they do and their actions, and what you say happens,
Right. Yeah. And yet, I mean, it's absolutely incumbent upon us to guard against that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. To be careful of that, to not allow our, like we quoted Sunday, let our minds rise with our condition. It's like, well, here I am. Right. So how do we do that? So and again, we're not endorsing any candidates, but if Becky were to become a member of the city council of Sanford, Maine, like, how do we keep Becky grounded? How do we not let that get to her head?
Rebuke. It's funny because she has said several times that when she was in the school board and you got some power there over what happens and that sort of thing. In the city council, she's been involved in that a little bit. She said it's almost like touching something evil. Like there's something almost not evil, but almost evil. Like you really have to be careful of that power. Mm-hmm. And she said, I can see that on the city level and various different places. You can see it at the state level. What's it like at the federal level? Right. Just be really, and she is acutely aware of that concept about just being aware that this is something that I need to be a servant at, and that's my role.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, right? Because that's, if the leaders of whatever area you're leading in can learn servant leadership, right? Then first of all, you're not living on this pedestal where, it's all about you, but rather that you're really truly looking for and regarding the welfare of other people, by serving them and loving them. So,
but again, if that's the viewpoint you have, that means I can't be important. I know I sit in the city council, I know I'm the mayor, I know I'm the whatever CEO, but I'm not that important really, is what you have to. That's got to be a mindset of that. Otherwise, you do kind of take over and have overblown self-importance.
Right. Yeah.
I think the value of good friends has to come into play here. You've got to keep people in your life that aren't just the yes men and yes women, that are just tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
They've got to be able to tell you the truth, and they've got to be able to say, you haven't gotten your hands dirty in a while. Like, how about you go do something, not just tell people to do something,
Except what seems to happen is they start forming circles around themselves, right? All of a sudden, like they start associating with other people of power, and pretty soon you just have a room full of big head personalities that are all inflating, one another's ego, and their own ego by trying to one up the other ones. And they forget where they came from. They forget, the real people living, people like Bill, at home, just, plugging away at life, trying to keep Becky grounded. So I'm not really worried about Becky. Anyway.
No, I'm not worried about Becky.
She's a pretty grounded individual anyway.
What's really interesting too is that if you think that you're overblown self-importance and all this sort of thing, just drive around a little bit. Drive around Sanford a little bit. Drive around some of the places of Wells and just see how other people live. like in lesser affluent neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods and that sort of thing. Just that makes you kind of think, you know what? I'm lucky I'm here. And some of it is my own doing, but a bunch of it is not my own doing. It's just that, you know, I was born into a family that valued education, and I had two parents at home, and all those sorts of things. And, you know, just because I've done well, I don't take that like, man, I did it all. Because I don't think I did.
Right.
You know.
Right.
My brother has a phrase. He talks. He lives in a place in Florida in a golf course area that's a lot of richer, wealthier people that live down there, and they said, "Oh, I don't understand. I brought myself up by the bootstraps, and how come these people can't do it? These poor people, they can do it if I did it." And my brother has a phrase. He said, "Just because you're on third base doesn't mean you got a triple. You know, you might have started there." You know, so I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, that's, you know, a lot of people start ahead of the game.
They do, for
You know?
sure. Yeah. So maybe you could venture over to my neighborhood, you know, ask a few of us to come and enjoy your swimming pool once in a while.
I'll do that. You free this weekend?
No, I have a family reunion.
Oh, that's right.
Remember? I have
do
going to
remember.
a family reunion. There's no pool there either, but
You know what's funny? I said to Renee after the service, I said, "Oh, family reunion."
yeah, she didn't know anything about it.
What?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
his family.
So, well, part of that's my grandmother who doesn't plan these things very far ahead. In fact, she called me today. She said, "I'm not a very good planner." I was like, "I know, Graham." And she said, "I forgot to tell everybody where the family reunion is." Okay. It's at my house this year. All right, good to know. What time? Yeah, I really haven't told anybody that either. So,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, that's pretty good. So that's where my lack of planning comes from, apparently, is my grandma.
Genetics. Yeah.
So Bill's on here, or Steve's on here. He asked, well, first of all, he says, "Stop mumbling, Josh. Can't understand you." Thank you, Steve. I will humbly take that rebuke and internalize it and try to do better. I love Steve. He's one of my favorites. So next time I tell him to wear a shirt with sleeves on it, then I'll be returning the favor. So, but he asked, "Bill, where did you learn your leadership skills you demonstrate in church leadership?" I should say, you arguably demonstrate in church leadership as well as your business. Where did you learn?
Well, thank you so much.
I know, it's very nice,
That's
isn't it?
wonderful.
That's
It
about
is very nice.
that's one of the nicest things I've ever heard Steve
That is,
ask. So
say yes.
that's great.
Thank you, Steve.
And he said, "You and Becky both have had leadership work instances that are not easy." That is true.
Oh.
That's true. So where did you learn those leadership skills?
I don't know exactly. Just, I have no idea.
So,
What
Steve, one thing I will say, I'll give Bill a second to think about this, because maybe Becky could call in and give us an answer to
Oh,
this
that would be
question.
wonderful.
I do know that at the office, whenever there's an awkward conversation that has to be had with any of the employees, it is not Bill that has that conversation. Bill weirdly has that day off.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And Becky will take care of that. So
She does. Yeah. She does handle a lot of things at the office, which is Dan and I really appreciate, because she's our HR person. She does great, and gently and kindly, but firmly sometimes if it has to be done. So I don't know where we get that. Just
it's just so natural.
I think it sort of was. You know, I think yeah. I mean, I was the youngest in my family, and maybe I learned submission from my older brothers and sister. I mean, that's possible. I don't know. Yeah.
Sharon, where did you learn your leadership skills? You've got some.
Fighting with my siblings, probably.
Yeah.
Surviving, just
Yeah.
you know.
Trying to be the best twin.
Oh,
Are you a twin?
I am.
you didn't know that? Yeah, there's
I
another
didn't
Sharon
I
out
know
there.
that, yeah. We look a lot alike, too. Sound a lot alike.
Where is she?
Middle of New Hampshire, Bristol.
Okay.
She's a teacher, business teacher.
Wow.
But yeah, it's you're always trying to one up each other and
Is that-
find the right
I don't know
way
if that's
to
leadership.
path. Well, the way we had to
That sounds
go
like
about it.
that
yes.
sounds like competitiveness.
Well, there was some competitiveness, but I think in order to make a niche for ourselves, I mean, it took doing that. I mean, it's not. It's hard separating, and you have to be very intentional. And I think that some of it's the intentionality. I think we are kind of born with it. I mean, both of us are kind of almost, most of our family, most of my siblings are what I would consider leaders in one way or another. And, you know, I've got a pastor brother. I've got an older sister who's, by virtue of being the mom to some bratty twins who came along 15 years after she was born. You know, I think she has some leadership skills. I have another brother who owned a lumber company and was in charge. So we've all got leadership ability, and I can't necessarily see it in my parents. Like that, it's not something that they did. It's not necessarily something that they modeled. It just, I don't know. But I know that it was, you know, we were taught to value certain things, you know, a strong work ethic and not being not being above anyone else, or not being above doing certain tasks. So I think, you know, it just kind of there.
Grow into it, or
yeah, you
something?
kind of do. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
you had a hard time answering. I'm having a hard time answering it too.
Yeah.
Let's see if Josh can answer it.
Oh, that's a great.
What's that?
What's that?
Where'd you get your
Where's the
leadership
skills?
abilities? Skills.
I don't know. I mean, I do. I think that there's just there is something that you're wired for. You know, and if you're wired for it, then ultimately you have to, you know, hone it, right? You have to develop it, because you can be a leader and just be a really, really atrocious leader, right? If you don't learn and grow in and ultimately exhibit the qualities of good leadership. But leading, I feel like I was always the person jumping in. You know, I think about when I was in Little League, I was certainly not, in the beginning, I wasn't the best player on the team, but I was definitely the most vocal and most rallying of the people on the team. And that came out of competitiveness, right? Like I was driven to win, and I understood that, you know, there's a team of players that are responsible for helping to make that happen. And I could see that. And so, you know, that was there. If there was something kind of going on in school and it was, people were grouped together to ultimately have to do or produce something. I mean, and if there's a leadership vacuum, I will fill it. Right? If there's nothing moving, I will jump in and let's go. I feel like I'm kind of wired for that. So.
I think the desire to want to learn is key too. You know, you may not necessarily know what you're doing. You know, you may be put into a leadership role and you don't know what you're doing, but those who want to learn what to do will rise to that, you know, and probably go further. I think all good leaders are good learners.
Yeah, they're good followers.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
And I do. I can follow well as well. In fact, sometimes I love it. I love the idea of just other people bearing the load and the responsibility for what's happening, and especially if that person, it's hard for me to follow somebody that I don't perceive as excelling in whatever that thing is. That's very, very difficult for me.
Right.
But if a person is really, really good at whatever that thing is, I love it. You know, I mean, I'd love building a house with somebody that knows how to build a house. All the stuff that I would get out of that and learn. I mean, I talked this week about, like, I replaced a couple shower heads and felt like I had just conquered the world, right? Like, I call that plumbing. Like, I did plumbing last week.
I'd agree. I'd agree.
Because, you know, I loosened what I think is called a nut and then removed and replaced and tightened said nut back again, and it's not leaking. So I felt like that was something. I did go into it thinking that I was going to have to go into the wall, which I probably just betrays my lack of understanding of how these things work. That's what I was really nervous about.
Yeah.
So, no, not necessary. It is weird. Our shower does run super hot now. It's very hard to control the temperature. I did nothing with the control knobs.
Do you think that's from changing the shower head?
It shouldn't be. It doesn't make
should
any
not be.
sense.
Oh, it should be.
But it made me so angry the other morning. I was trying to take a shower and it was scalding hot, right? Scalding. And I mean, I went all the way almost off. It should be ice cold water and it's still scalding. And I can't get under it. I'm, cowered in the corner because I can't jump out. I'm soaking wet. And finally it went, when it just plummeted to ice cold. And I was like, oh, good. All right. And then I move it back up and I don't know.
It
Sometimes
sounds like you
works,
need to
sometimes it
replace
doesn't.
something else.
It does. That's not going to probably happen. But anyway, so yeah, love following people that are an expert. So, which reminds me, we probably can't do this at your place, but I had this idea for a segment that I think we're going to try to make a part of the Primetime podcast every once in a while. And it's called Take Your Pastor to Work, where somebody can invite me to
Jeff Farrell, you're on here.
Yeah. Invite me to go along and
Josh.
hang out with them. And Jeff can show me how to detail a car or,
And I will volunteer my car.
how nice of you.
What a leader.
Sharon, it would be a privilege to clean your car. And I say that from a position of servant leadership. So, all right. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. So we got to head out of here. We'll be back again next week. Bill, thank you very much for joining us.
It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it. It's always fun to have you around and hang out with you.
Pool party bills right now.
That's right.
Come on down.
Much cooler if there's a pool involved, but that's okay. So, for as much as Bill likes to see me with my shirt off, you'd think I would get.
Okay.
We're back to that.
You'd think I'd get more invitations
Cue the music, Shayna.
to the pool party. But, all right, that's it. Sharon, thank you as well. Shayna, thank you for producing tonight. See you guys all next week on Courtesy of Prime Time.